Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening on the Believe Podcast Network. Travis, normally you and I, just behind the curtain a little bit here with the Duval Divers there in the comments, which thank you for jumping in. I got to give props quickly to our guy Radius, who 12 o'clock noon, our time, is in here wishing us happy stream because his time we're going like after midnight and stuff. And yeah, so anyway, shouts for dudes like coming in and commenting 6 or 7 hours before we even go live. We appreciate you divers in each and every function there too. And John G, you have a comment that I'm going to get to momentarily, but something I wanted to throw out. And I know that the thumbnail of this particular pod mentioned silver lining. For all the stuff and all the frustration that may or may not have been felt by the Duval Devout, and for all the misguided and very silly national criticism out there of Trevor Lawrence, or the overblown elation or alleged heroics that is being portrayed by Josh Allen.
Sure.
I'm in the position as a Niner fan doing a Jaguars podcast, talking to you Duval Devout every week. I'm feeling more awkward long-term as a 49er guy, and I'm still watching my team in the playoffs, air quote. Long-term, this Jaguars team, oh my gosh. And it all wraps up into this comment. I blame John G for this diversion, who says, no sadness here, still happy. That little finger is gone. Looking forward to what happens with a proper offseason. And John G, I can tell you here on the Duval Dive, as we head into the offseason in question, there'll be a lot of analysis and conversation regarding all of that. Now, Travis, I know you and I were talking, and it's a whole thing where a lot of people are ready to move on and a lot of kind of moving past the Buffalo game per se. But there's some impressive football things for those of you film junkies out there that are worth mentioning that both sides did well, right?
And that's been I can't even say frustration, but I will say frustration, just to be honest and be clear and accurate in what I'm trying to say.
You're a ball knower.
I'm not going to pat myself on the back and call myself a ball knower. Ball knower is what somebody else calls you. That's fine.
I called you one. This is about me complimenting you.
What we are not going to do here, Duval Devout, what we are not going to do here as a family, as a unit, we together, if we can spend a week to talk about some damn New York Jets and reviewing film after that sort of game, we sure as hell are going to talk about the most important game of this Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 season and how it went and where it went wrong, where it went right, etc. Like that's what we need to do to know where we need to evolve and where we need to advance this roster this coming off season. So from that perspective, yes, if we're going to have conversations surrounding this roster development and where they need to make changes, we first need to understand what the hell just happened on Sunday. So we should have that conversation, and I feel like we should. Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely, Travis. And I know. See, here's the thing. You and I both here and on other pods. I know you were on the Cover One podcast. I was on the Mark Moses show earlier this week, having the conversation about Josh Allen doing things that he hasn't really done ever before, and coming up with the Disney movie ending. Hey, you have to, what is it? Doing the Rocky 3 thing where, he's changing his fighting style completely to do what he did in the playoff game in advance. And a big element of that you reminded me of was the screen game and that involvement to take things underneath, and the game plan by the Bills to take, what the defense gave them and to adjust to Campanelli's defensive strategies, right? So,
shout out to one of the Duval divers on the YouTube page, and I forget the name, and I'm sorry. I always want to make sure I credit you guys whenever you do comment, because we love your engagement. Keep liking and subscribing. If you are listening also.
It's hard to keep track sometimes, folks. Don't push the exaggeration alert, Travis. That issue is real. Continue.
But no, somebody pointed it out. It's like, hey, man, what happened to the Jaguar screen game? I'm like, dude, we've only been talking about this for like a month and a half. They literally took it out of the playbook because they weren't successful at doing it.
They also took the out of the rotation because of it. But continue.
But then that also reminded me, that's right, that they did kill the Jaguars in the screen game this week. And I forgot to what level. So when someone was bragging later to me about the quality of play that Josh Allen put onto the field, and he did have a great game. Someone said to me, "Hey, man, he was 28 of 35 for 237," and I'm like, "Yeah, but did you look at the game? Do we have eyes, right? Like he had 9 completions behind the line of scrimmage. He had 17 completions in less than 5 yards, like 4 yards and under in that game. So I'm like, when you're looking at the production on the field, Josh Allen had a good game. He was a great field manager. He was a great game manager, but he also was, I would say, at minimum problematic in the deep areas of the field. Like
at the very least, allow me to cut you off, but at the very least, not the hero that Colin Cowherd, that all these other national folks would have you believe, right?
But it was funny to me because I went back and listened to the broadcast, like actually listened to and even the announcers were saying it at one point. They were like, "Dude," and they said it in their own words, but the gist of it being that pass from Josh Allen just didn't look right. Like, oh yeah, those deep passes, he always hits those. The Cooks pass that was ruled an incompletion later. That probably should have been a touchdown if he throws a good pass. Like those kinds of plays. Even the Cooks pass, that was the busted coverage that we're going to show you later, again, was underthrown. And you're like, dude, the Jaguars defensive backs gave up. Let me pull the stat. All right, let me get the stat. Because out of 33 qualifying receivers in wild card round 1, Bills wide receiver Khalil Shakir had the lowest in air yards per target in the NFL at 1.5 yards per target. Dude had 18 targets in the game. So he averaged 1.5 yard per target in the game. They couldn't run, so that was their run game, and it worked due to Jacksonville's secondary limitations because they couldn't put guys up in bump and run coverage. They couldn't basically take away the immediate throws to the sideline. But again, I don't have to tell you this. You saw the game, but I'll show you just in case you forgot how many of these plays happened that were simply the Jaguars defensive backs. They're 7 yards back. They're 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. They're 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. And all Buffalo's doing is just immediately pop passes. And now he'll break a tackle, first down. That was on 3rd and 6. That's what we're doing. Like, so across the scope of the game, there were way too many freebies. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars got out Jacksonville Jaguar on Sunday. And what do I mean? What do I mean by that? We talked about for over and over and over throughout this season how the Jaguars were great. And I don't mean good. I mean great at picking up free change off the sidewalk. And what I mean is whenever you see a 2 high safety situation, they would run into it. Whenever you see a 1 high safety situation, they'd pass into it. They were consistent and religious about doing this. Why is that important? Because in the words of Big Game James, Den Media Group, shout out, friend of the pod, it's MF-a-ball. Mother F-a-ball. There's 11 people on the field for a reason. And wherever there's 6 guys, you don't go there. Wherever there is 5 guys, you go there. So if there are 6 guys in the secondary, you run the ball. If there are 6 guys up front, you pass the ball. This is how this works.
If I may give James his proper due for me to paraphrase as best as I can in his fashion, if they got 6 MFers over here, don't throw it to the MFer that's over there. You throw it to the MFer that's not where all the MFers are at. It's very simple.
Yeah, something like that. Like, so from my perspective, I'm sitting there looking at this like, hey man, as long as you guys are 7 yards off, as long as you guys are 8 yards off, they're going to continue taking these 1 yard, 2 yard, 3 yards. And even on occasion when the Jaguars were in press coverage, they would still run a little quick 3 yard out and just get that leverage. And it's like, dude, the limitations on the roster eventually were already going to show themselves, because at the end of the day, it's always going to come down to Jimmys and Joes, not X's and O's. And you're just going to need guys who can just beat the other guy in coverage. And that's the unfortunate part of what happened on Sunday, is they had the right guys for the situation, despite the fact that the Jaguars probably had a better roster overall. And that's a sucky that's a sucky thing to have to live with until next season.
And I think another factor that we've alluded to it, but we've not said it directly, so I'm going to go ahead and put it out here. I think this is Campanelli being a victim of his success. What I mean, he knows that Josh Allen is this guy that struggles to resist the urge to play hero ball. And he played the defense to be ready for him to try to be a damn hero. And when that didn't happen,
fair.
Right. That's what I do blame
some of that on Liam Coen and not Campanelli. That's if you want to get into that part of the conversation. Like, because That's the whole run game conversation that we're going to have later.
Okay.
They are intertwined. Josh Allen never felt, how do I say this in the right way? They played the Jacksonville Jaguars like they were playing a team that was sorry. And I don't mean that as a joke, and I don't mean that as like shade. I mean that like objectively. They played the Jacksonville Jaguars like they were playing against the New Orleans Saints. And in a way that I mean, they did not feel pressure to have to score. They did not feel pressure to make these plays outside of themselves. They never got down in the game. With the Jaguars got the ball first, but the Buffalo Bills were up early. And then the Jaguars get into a situation where they go for it on 4th and 2, and now they're the ones who are chasing points. Buffalo goes right down the field and scores. Like the Jaguars are the ones in chase mode at that point. From that point moving on, playing outside of themselves, whereas Buffalo's just, I'm comfortable, man. I'm fine. I can still lean on the run game even though it's not working. I feel fine here.
I will push back saying I don't know that I agree with the statement that they played the Jaguars like they were sorry. Actually, to me, that sounds like they're playing a team that they respect, because if they make a mistake and let this team back in it, they know they'll be in trouble. That to me whiffs of a team that deserves respect.
So Jaguars fans have experience playing against sorry teams, and what I mean by that is they in the 2024 season, like I believe it was the Atlanta Falcons game, where it was just like, oh yeah, you don't have to threaten going downfield. You don't have to, you don't have to do anything but just continue running the ball, just continue even feeling fine punting the ball. You don't have to do anything wild or outside of yourself, because you know eventually they're going to screw up. You know eventually you don't feel that pressure. And that's what I mean. Like Josh Allen has that superhero complex. But to have that superhero complex, you need to have a reason to be that superhero. You have to be down. You have to feel like this is a you gotta have it moment. Never existed. It never came because they were always up, and he's been beaten to him to have this run game from under center for the Bills. And they ran 11 times with Josh Allen, and they ran the rest with James Cook, and they felt fine because they were doing good. He was being given all the underneath stuff. We just talked about that. 1 yard throws at the line of scrimmage, 1.5 bottom of the NFL. You're not making it hard. And then you get the coverage bust later in the game from the Jaguars secondary, and then that just changes the ball game in and of itself. Like that. Okay,
one
we'll
led to the other. Exactly. I totally get that tied in. But to that point, it's hard for me to, and listen, you're the guy with this team makes me drink shirt thing. I think there's an element of that in play here too.
I'll be honest.
But a lot of drinking. I'll take a sip of my beer in your honor after I'm done talking. But the punchline is, I feel like there's an element. You linked it to that Liam Coen decision where you refused to tank the points. And I spoke about that ad nauseum. Duval Dive Live Sunday. I'm not going to rehash that. A lot of you divers in the comments did the same right along with me. I mean, hell, if I felt that validated in my personal life, I would be unstoppable. But the punchline is, the punchline to that is regardless of whether it shows respect for the Jags or not, it's what led to eventually to that Big Cook's play for that. If you want to call it a busted coverage, I'll agree with you. But
I am going to call it a busted coverage, and we're going to talk about exactly how it was busted in this podcast. So, I mean, we can get into it now, or we can get into it later, because I already talked about the secondary personnel.
You did say that getting killed in the screen game is right there linked with secondary personnel issues. I'm fine to go along with it.
I mean, sure. Then let's get into it. Like we have the coverage bust that everyone's already talking about anyways. You have the original cover two, inverted cover two, non-traditional cover two, whatever you want to call it, play where Jarian Jones misses the tackle. Many people may not have noticed Jarian Jones is your nickel back, but at the snap of the ball, he actually drops back into, again, it's a non-traditional cover two where he basically plays the role as the safety. So Monterey Brown's your cornerback at the bottom of the screen. He has to reroute the wide receiver inside to make life easy on your safety. Otherwise, you have an impossible amount of space to cover. He doesn't. He actually allows the wide receiver, Keon Coleman, to go outside. And at that point, Jari misses the tackle. He's 20 yards down the field. That's a problem at that point. Yeah, then you have... Go ahead.
You mentioned that too in the Duval Dive Live. Was all I wanted to point out there too. You're just doing the show, don't tell version of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you have the play that's the explosive the touchdown for Dalton Kincaid down the sideline where the Jaguars defense is struggling to get lined up, so they run into the line late. Looks like they're in the cover 3 coverage. Right behind them, react to a bad situation, but they're already done at that point. And then you have the late touchdown, the late long throw to Brandon Cooks.
Right.
And the wildest one for that, because that's Eric Murray. This is quarters coverage. He breaks on the breaking route at the same time as Newsome is trying to jump that route. And this is the screen of where they are when that ball is thrown. They are 4 yards in front of the defensive backs. Cooks is 4 yards in front of both defensive backs when this ball is let go by Josh Allen. That's anticipation. I would give him credit on that. He anticipated the heck out of both of those guys breaking on that ball, on that, trying to make a play on that out route. And instead, it ends up being an explosive play, whatever it was, like 40 yards, simply because one guy, I'm going to say that Eric Murray, if I'm wrong, sue me, look very much like cover 4 to everybody else on the field. Is breaking on that ball. And then that's why you get into the post game, you get Greg Newsome saying that we got guys that's playing different coverages. He didn't say who was playing different coverage. He didn't say if it was his fault or someone else's fault. I'm putting that on Eric Murray. And unfortunately, then that's 2 plays I'm showing you of the 3 busts that I put on the plate of Eric Murray. And unfortunately, though you can't give up 17 plays at the line of scrimmage and then also have 3 coverage busts. You can give up one of those 2 things. But that's why this felt very much like the Seattle Seahawks game for me. Because if you guys don't remember, where it was a long game of just field position, back and forth, 2 very equal teams. It was just one team that really struggled with the explosives. And that was exclusively what changed the game. That's what it was for this game. It's that same secondary personnel explosive problem that they have, what they just keep allowing teams to do things in that fourth quarter where you have to have it. You know what I mean? What you got the Cardinals game, they gave up a 69-yard drive to tie the game. They got the Texans game, they had a 93-yard drive for the Texans to go up 1. That was the second Texans game. You got the 2 Raiders drives, 1 in the fourth quarter, 1 in overtime to tie the game up.
I feel like this Bengals is more akin to that Texans or Cardinals game than I do the Seahawks, because we're not talking about stunts and the line getting completely eviscerated like we did in the Seattle game. But the element of the defense being unable to account for certain elements, that part is accurate. I know I'm getting more into the example than I am the point that you're making, but which is perfectly relevant. I will not. Just that at all.
The only reason I put it as a Seahawks game because it's the second game for this season that I legitimately thought that the Jacksonville Jaguars had a better roster and probably should have won, and they still didn't because of various reasons.
Yeah, as we're pointing out, and Diesel makes the point. The reason why stunts don't matter is because we, and specifically Walker Little, allowed it old ass Bosa to pressure Trevor Lawrence and Key Momus, speeding him up too much and see on our left side. I don't know that I'm completely ready to sell Bosa out quite like that, especially in a world where they had Khalil Mack aged at the particular time in his career they did a few years back in Buffalo. But I appreciate the input, Diesel, and I think you're spot on. I pointed it out to Duval Dive Live on Sunday.
Man.
How do you follow up old ass Bosa? That's
well, I mean, we gave the guys their flowers on the positive of what they did do. Like again, Trevon Walker had a heck of a day in the run game, and so did Devon Hamilton. I mean, you don't hold the Bills' overall offense, which includes Josh Allen running for 11 dang times, to less than 80 yards on the ground on 26 carries. That's 3 yards a carry. That's Devon Hamilton. That's Trevon Walker. Like, they did well there. I mean, shout out to Anthony over Cover One podcast. Again, that's the Buffalo Bills guys. Like, they commented on the fact that as much as shade as all the Buffalo media were giving the Jaguars defense for quote unquote not being elite, not being great, it sure as hell looked at like negative 2.1 EPA per rush, negative 3.3 rushing EPA, 33% positive play rate. Like, those are all the worst in the NFL for the wild card week. Like, And that's what Anthony kind of says. Like, hey, if you knew that going into the game that the Buffalo Bills would have had that production on the ground, you would have bet the Bills would have lost. Like, and from that perspective, the Jaguars did their dang job and just somehow didn't come away with the victory, unfortunately.
Well, and here's the sad element to that. It's the most humiliating play. I'm on record saying the most humiliating play I've seen let loose by a defensive front this season, if not in a long time, was a 9-yard tush push conversion. Okay. That actually pulled up the numbers significantly to raise that average, I might add. I said what I said. I'm sorry if I'm out of show order here, but I feel ways about that as a trench guy.
Oh, no, that's great. No, that's great. No, because that was one of the plays that had me laughing. I can laugh about this now. I'm still a little bit pissed about this game, but I can laugh about the play because if you didn't see the play in the game, Eric Armstead is like standing straight up because he's expecting the play to be called. He's expecting the play to be called done. Montaric Brown's doing a twist. I don't know. He's dancing back there. I don't know what's happening there. Montaric does like a twirl at the 3-yard line. The play's still going on, mind you. And I'm just like, bro, what are we doing? You got who is that? You got Devin Lloyd was out there. He's like, what's going on? Yeah. Everyone thought the play is over. Like Monterey's just like hopping around. He's just like, all right, cool. He turns around. He turns his back to the whole scramble at the 3-yard line. And I'm like, bro, come on. Like that's gonna be a life lesson for these guys that can play through the whistle, but at the same time, it's today's NFL. You're probably thinking that you can get a flag if you tackle the guy, but that's rough, bro. Like, yeah. Well, if anything, that might be the play that get the tush push rule changed. Maybe. Fingers crossed. It's Jacksonville. Who the hell knows?
Yeah, right. It's just a small market team, right? Air quotes. No, I don't have anything to add to that. I've mentioned what how I feel about that play.
No. You talked about the play, so I figured I would show these guys the play. I thought that was just fun.
That's the thing. As a purveyor of trench warfare, like, see, here's the thing, and I see Jetpack here, which by the way, great name, Jetpack. I like that. Ban this stupid play, sir. I am as an offensive lion, I am borderline insulted that people have this attitude about the quarterback sneak. It's not a damn country line dance. Stop calling it the damn tush push. Okay. That being said, offensive line
playing, not tush pushes.
What's that?
I'm cool with quarterback sneaks. I ain't cool with tush pushes, honestly.
The quarterback sneak, like the tush push, I'm going to air quote it because I refuse to adopt that term, is a quarterback sneak with physical play. The Eagles brought in rugby people, which, by the way, earlier when you mix the word rumble and scrum into one word, calling it a scrumble, I know you did that on accident. Bleep that. That's in my vocabulary now. That's the thing that's happening, okay? They taught the Eagles how to scrumble, and it helped get them in that position to get to the Super Bowl where they lost to the Chiefs and then continue to pervade themselves beyond with Jason Kelsey and that group as a center. So that's a whole other thing.
If referees could call it right, I'd be fine with it. They can't. They've expressly shown that they cannot. Then I have a problem with it because you got Josh Allen moving before the balls even snapped. The quarterback had a false start and they didn't call it. Let's be very clear about it. I wasn't even going to complain about that, but you just said it. And I'm just like, no, if the refs can't call it right, then get rid of it. And the second part of it is the pushing of someone.
The fat guys, I am down with this.
Yeah, and you having the guys behind him pushing him. That's the other part of it. No. If he can do it, but do it by himself, I'm cool with that. You want to put a 400-pound dude at quarterback and let him run his thing, do that thing, like have fun. That's the guy from the New Orleans Saints, whatever, the tight end from the New Orleans Saints. I'm cool with that, but no, not the push, not an offensive line literally picking up a quarterback's legs off the ground, which is what happened on that 10-yard play for Josh Allen. Like he got to be able to do this by himself, bro. Like, that's got to be the rule. So that's where I draw the line is it's not a team carrying a dude down the field kind of situation.
Right.
And that's not me saying that because it's Josh Allen. I've always thought that nonsense. It just makes sense, bro. Well, as far as the big ticket item, we got to talk about it. And I talked to you about this on the drive back home after the presser. And if you guys haven't gone to the Duval Dive on Spotify, Apple, wherever you podcast, we did have we put out the key takeaways from James Gladstone and Liam Coen's end of season presser.
That's right. Travis was on the scene, on site, asking questions of Jimmy Stones himself. Check it out on our podcast. Yeah, thank you, Travis. I forgot to point
that was an audio only one. I hate to leave our YouTubers out, but go and check it out. It was only an 8-minute summary, so that way you guys don't have to listen to the 37-minute presser. You can get the gist of what was talked about and kind of get in and out of there.
And most importantly, what Travis asked Jimmy Stones. Let's be honest. But go ahead.
But it sucked because no one was able to get into the real questions that needed to be asked about that Buffalo game, because it feels like everybody just don't want to talk about it because y'all just want to wipe the palate, wipe the slate clean. I get it, but that game had so much going on that I told Nash, like, we could have probably done a 2-hour damn podcast just talking about Sean McDermott versus Trevor Lawrence and Anthony Campanelli versus Josh Allen, like that back and forth of everything that was happening with the disguising of the coverages on both teams. It was insane how much you'd see a 1 high safety situation that turned into a 2 high safety situation. 2 high safety situation turns into a 1 high situation, pre-snap versus post-snap, all the different various things that both teams were doing on a play-by-play basis, where it was like, dude, gosh, and I wish I would have clipped the play. Like, there are so many busted coverages also, both on Jacksonville and on Buffalo, and Jacksonville was just not able to make them pay. Like the Parker Washington play, for anyone listening to me who has access to NFL Plus or has access just to the game clip online, go and take a look at the Parker Washington 3rd down incompletion that he keeps running through the zone. And it nearly becomes an interception from, I believe it was Bishop, the same one who got the game-ending interception.
Correct.
That play was a coverage bust by the Bills. Parker Washington keeps running straight. He literally just scores a touchdown. No one's home. It should have been cover 2. They were trying to negotiate and talk about their coverage adjustments at the line. Trevor Lawrence hiked the ball early. Parker Washington's gone. If Parker Washington just sits his route down, even on that play, instead of bending it into a dig, he probably scores. If not scores, it's 30, 40-yard game. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for the Jaguars, where they were able to make the Bills pay on those deep balls. But I think they dared the Jacksonville Jaguars to beat them deep, and the Jaguars rarely even tried. But also, they dared Trevor Lawrence and this wide receiver group to be on the same page, and it's a struggle that we haven't seen them go through for much of this late part of the season. But Trevor was late. Like on the early interception, he's late on this throw. He said it in his post game that he was late on this throw. But even if he's not late, I don't think that throw was ever there. That's the part that no one's. Sorry, 2 safeties in the backfield. So what does that mean? You got 6 guys with 4 underneath defenders. Where must you throw the ball? That probably ain't it. It's got to be farther down the field, or you're going to give it up to your check down, Travis Etienne, in the flats. Like, that's what should have taken place. It just didn't because Trevor got greedy. They dared Trevor to do what Josh Allen did and be patient moving down the field, or be explosive down the sidelines and hit those honey holes. And that's what I told you guys when we talked about this. Well, we talked about this in Friday's pod, and I don't have to show you Jaguars game recently. And I know Buffalo obviously has the same head coach, the same DC, Sean McDermott and Bill Babick. And it's probably a good thing to learn from the past, kind of just remember how Lawrence played against them, because they're running the same prototypical defense with small changes on maybe how often they're running their coverages. But for the most part, it's the same thing, and they're just going to disguise it a little bit more. They run a lot of cover 4, a lot of cover 2 high safety looks, specifically on passing downs, and more recently they've run a lot more man coverage. But we knew this going into the game. We knew this going into the matchup, that it was going to be a lot of cover 2, man, because they led the league in cover 2 man reps. And a lot of those plays were cover 2 and cover 2 man, because that's what they do. They just disguise it really well and show you cover 2 and then show you cover 4, or show you cover 2 and then show you a man post snap read. And they screw up all of your communication between you and what you think is happening from your coach's perspective and from your adjustment perspective. So that's the part that I'm just like, dang it. Like, I felt like it was going to be between Trevor and McDermott. Like, again, they set on all the dig routes. Like, if you look at this is not even a route that's to Jacoby Myers. Bishop is all over it. Mm-hmm. Backside. Look at the top of the screen, your backside dig route. They're not giving it any sort of respect. This is quarters coverage, and he is all over it. No respect for them to beat them deep. No respect for double moves. It doesn't matter. And that was the entire game. They were flooding the zone. It didn't matter the coverage. They weren't respecting the Jaguars to try them deep. And they didn't. they also weren't respecting the Jaguars to be on the same page as each other. So this is the play that everybody's talking about. The last play, obviously, the interception, where it's cover one lurk or cover one robber, whatever you want to call it. They have a safety that is over the top of Brian Thomas Jr. at the top of the screen. He's actually should be your middle safety. He's just leaning towards Brian Thomas Jr. and not respecting Parker Washington to beat them on the post route. He is a flat-footed safety. Everybody keeps saying that Parker Washington wasn't open on this play. If he is, if you're throwing with anticipation, like we just saw Josh Allen throw a dude open who was 4 yards in front of the cornerback because the cornerback is flat-footed. This safety now is flat-footed. Looking at Trevor Lawrence's eyes, he is ready to go downhill. While we know Parker Washington is going to run a post route. If Trevor Lawrence lets that ball go here to Parker Washington, there's no way that robbing safety is going to be able to stop that throw. That is an explosive play right there, or you can give it up to Travis Etienne in the lower flat there. Either way, you have options available that don't involve necessarily forcing that to Jakobi Meyers with 59 seconds left, and you have 29 yards to get into field goal range. Unfortunately, that's what happened, bro.
Yeah. What more
That's
can
so
be
hard.
said about that? Yeah, and
It's so hard to watch.
No, I can only imagine too, man. And listen, to credit to Bishop, he had a big day. And you know the Bills DBs played well, right? We knew this was a group that was touted just as much as the run defense for the Jags, and I feel like both units showed up. Certainly, the Jags run defense, in my opinion, did more of their job than the Bills DBs. But hey, who got the dub? And I think the point, you know, I mentioned this there too, but I want to also bring it up as well. I think another factor was, you know, the ball was high, but you know, if Bosa's actually blocked, there's a chance, to your point, that Trevor makes that throw. Yeah, and
they had a chip and two blockers, Ezra Cleveland and Walker Little, and they still could not slow Bosa down to get before hitting Trevor Lawrence on that last final play. That's craziness.
Yeah, and that's unacceptable. It's the reminder of you can't fully rebuild an O-line in 1 year. To Jimmy Stone's credit, he did really a really good job in 1 year to upgrade this group. Please, absolutely, let's respect that. But to do it in 1 year,
and Jimmy Stone's today mentioned. Sorry, go ahead.
It's impossible to do in 2 years. It's 5 positions. Shouts to James Jones, by the way, who explained that to me in my coverage of the Super Bowl in Phoenix there, by the way. Go ahead.
No, but James earlier today, he did mention the fact that I didn't even think about. He's like, well, we don't have any expiring contracts for our offensive line. Like all 5 of our offensive line starters will be returning next year. And I'm like, oh, that's right. So, I mean, they did build the floor from that perspective. Like they did build a very solid floor. Like if they add another offensive lineman across the board, like whether that's in free agency, whether that's via the draft, the goal should only be to improve. And they did not believe that Patrick McCarry's injury will be anything long-term or anything like that can't be managed as far as his back is concerned. So from that perspective, this should be the worst offensive line unit you can see for the Jacksonville Jaguars, quote unquote. Yes. Moving forward.
See, so I think that is guys under contract. You say guys under contract, Travis. I see trade pieces for Liam Coen to try to jump into the higher part of the draft.
Hey man, you see how if you saw the exit interview from like Coen, like they know this is not going to look like this roster is not going to look like what it looks like right now. And I really hope fans are okay understanding that. Like I really hope folks grasp that for real, because it feels like the players truly understand that. I think they have a clear understanding of what this is versus what it ain't. And I think a lot of guys got that when the Tyson Campbell trade happened, because a lot of guys were pissed off about that. Reportedly, a lot of guys were pissed off about that in that locker room, and then they started winning.
That's their teammate. I get it. I would tilt my eyebrow too, and then, well, hell, we win. Whatever, you know, DJ Khaled time. Let's go.
And they know this business, but now you're on a winning franchise with a new regime who's shown you they are absolutely going to win, and they're absolutely going to do whatever the hell they got to do to win, and they're not going to sit on their hands. And every play, you've seen it. Josh Allen mentioned it. Travis Etienne mentioned, Devin Lloyd. They all have mentioned that this is not going to look how it looked last year. Liam Coen said it in today's presser. He's like, hey man, we are a 13-win team who lost the first game in the playoffs. Like, this is not, we're not going to sit on our hands. This is not going to look like it looked this year. So I do hope fans understand that when you start projecting who's going to be here and who's not, because I know we got a lot of offseason to have that conversation, but some big names got to be discussed, and some of the names that y'all think is going to be here ain't going to be here, and I think that's very clear.
And two things I want to add to that. First of all, Jarvis, shouts to you. I did not mention this on the Duval Dive, and I damn sure wanted to, about Walker Little, or excuse me, Jacoby Myers pancaking Bosa on a block, but Walker Little can't. And I mean, listen, it wasn't LeQuint outlet hit, but what really is, you know, and that's a great point to be made there too. Moreover, and early in the pod here, as we went live, John G had the comment that he is stoked that it's not just silver lining. He's happy that Littlefinger, aka Trent Baalke, is gone. Remember, the last time the Jags had a playoff run, they just said running back, we good, dog. And then the Titans kept them out the playoffs in week 18. The fact that they're willing to work and rebuild and are this open about it at exit interviews for the 2025 season before hitting off season is certainly a positive light. No, I'm not yelling because that's how I talk. Haven't you seen my movie? No. Go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
No. Yeah, so we don't even got to get into all the different. Again, I told you it will be a whole pod, and I'm not going to have you here for an hour. But just all the different disguise and stuff, that's a big reason why I think the Jacksonville Jaguars got away from the run. And I don't know who it falls on. To be very clear, I can't tell you that it falls on Coach Liam Coen, who calls the plays in the huddle, because we know every single play that Liam Coen calls in the huddle, they have 3 plays that they can run: the play that's called or the 2 cans. So we don't know if the run was canned into a pass. We don't know if the pass was canned into a run, etc. Like vice versa, like whatever. All we know is one of those 2 guys who are there, Liam Coen or Trevor Lawrence, today is sitting there looking at this film like, damn, like I made this come out of whack. Because I can tell you right now, Travis Etienne and Basal Tootin together had 7 carries for 73 yards with 5 minutes left in the second quarter. And Trevor Lawrence was 9 of 15 for 88 yards at halftime. Like Etienne and Tootin averaged over 10 yards a carry in the first half, and Trevor Lawrence was averaging less than 6 yards per attempt. Is this a question of what you should have been doing? Like, and then I heard the presser, the post-game presser, because again, I wasn't at the stadium on Sunday.
Point on Sunday, please add new context.
I missed. We were doing the podcast, so I missed this post-game presser. So the Demetrius Harvey, Jacksonville.com, asked Coach Coen about, do you think you may have gotten away from the run game a little bit? And Coach Coen was just like, I don't know what you mean. And I'm like, how do you not know what? I'm generally with them on some of these statements, but that was that.
Please, exactly. We can think he's great and question certain things he does. Agree.
Yeah. You can be a great play caller, and he absolutely is. To be very clear, but you cannot be averaging 10 yards per carry while your quarterback is averaging 4 yards less per attempt, and you not run the air out of that rock, like run the air out of the rock at that point. But in both halves of the games, Trevor Lawrence had 15 pass attempts compared to 7 rushes for Etienne and Tootin, with those 2 averaging over 8 yards per carry on the game. Like, that's got to be a missed opportunity to control the floor of the game and to keep Buffalo's offense on the sideline. Like, even Trevor Lawrence's better half, he was still averaging less than 8 yards per attempt, and the run game was 6.4 with no carries for Tootin, who was the most explosive guy. He had multiple explosives in the first half. Like that, they obviously got away from it. But again, I said, because I thought all the different disguises that Buffalo was doing pre-snap versus post-snap may have gotten them away from it, because I said on, again, Friday's pod that they would show straight man look. You see, everybody's capped. Everyone's covered here. All the defenders are over the receivers. So you think if you're the quarterback, this is man-on-man coverage, right?
It's very crowded. No. If it's going to turn into a zone. Exactly.
Right. This is actually cover 2 man. They actually bailed at the snap of the ball and ended up, this is the out route where the Jacoby Myers drops on the sideline. And they actually bail it into a cover 2 man, with the cornerback actually being the cover 2 safety and the safety playing the man, the cornerback man role at the top of the screen. Jacoby I know he wants that one back because he normally catches those, but that was a pure drop. Another situation where it looks.
Go ahead. Keep going. I want you to finish this because there's a good question in the comments. But wrap this up. Yeah, you're good.
Just another situation where it looks like it's going to be straight man, and they actually drop both defensive ends into the flats. And that's just like, oh man. So you still only got 4 guys coming. You end up giving a straight cover 3 look. It's just everyone's roles changes, and it throws the quarterback off where you think you got 9 people or 8 people blitzing you, and in reality, but you only got the same basic, cover 3 coverage with 4 rushers. But that's the play I was talking about when I said it was a busted coverage. This was the play for Parker Washington. Open. If he's open the entire way, and Trevor Lawrence sees it, and he thinks Parker Washington sees it, and Parker Washington doesn't. Then he runs the route like he normally should. That's touchdown. The whole Brenton Strange getting the ball knocked down at the line of scrimmage, another busted play. And I'm just like, yo, this is crazy. They had the opportunities. They just didn't see him. Trevor Lawrence throws the ball late when this is an inverted cover 2 situation. Trey White has his eyes on the Jacksonville Jaguars when it looks like cover 3. Like, that's when I say it's those mind games, man. They did it. And Campanelli does that often. And that's just it. So you can't really know what they made Trevor Lawrence adjust out of, because they were showing this at 15 seconds when the microphone goes off in your ear. And it's truly up to Trevor Lawrence whether this is going to be a run or a pass at that point. It's just his choice. I can't say Campanelli, Liam Coen got away from it, because I don't know if it was Liam Coen or if it was Trevor Lawrence. I just know it's one of those guys, unfortunately.
Yeah, and guys, you guys are dropping just absolute bombs in the comments. There was a comment earlier on that I have since lost because you guys are.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
Not at all. The issue. So I figured out I can do up to 6 things at once. You have more than 6 good comments at one particular moment going on, Divers. Keep that ish up. But all of that to say, like, I feel like there's an element there where, and I'm trying to word this right, you mentioned Trevor versus McDermott being a big deal. Did Trevor audible out of things? And that's what the comment said. Like I said, I can't find it, and I forgot who sent it. But how much of this was Trevor audibling out of the run as well? We haven't talked about that, and there's no way we're going to find that out either.
Right.
I think that's
and you don't even know, and because you also don't know what's the fake audible, what's the fake can, like, because they also do that. And they mentioned it in their interviews this postseason, like, oh no, I was just yelling, I was giving them a fake can just to make them show what their defense they're going to play. Like, you don't know which one's the real one versus the fake one. So just because they're at the line of scrimmage talking and doing motions, it doesn't necessarily mean that they change the play call at all.
That's a great point.
The only people that know that answer is the players themselves.
Yeah, we don't read minds yet. AI hasn't taken us to that point. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I know you got one more thing in here. I
want to end this on a happy note, because I think LeQuint Allen deserves his shine, even if the Jaguars got no points on the dang drive because of interesting decisions.
This is a pro LeQuint Allen podcast. That's the point. Go ahead, Trav.
To show his stuff.
It needs to be talked about.
Crosses the 20.
That man is
the 30,
and I love it.
God bless that. He got his fumble recovery. It's a great.
Jacksonville. Whoa.
That's multiple times this season we have seen LeQuint Allen do this diving forward, forced fumble thing that he does. He has no regard for his body, for his health and safety, and I respect it, brother. I respect it so much.
For those that are listening to the pod, the Ralph Wiggum video that Travis has crowbarred in here is a perfect showing for what happens for the reckless abandon of our favorite 7th round pick, LeQuint Allen.
So I do have one question I do want to answer, and I know this is a future conversation, it's a future podcast, but Topa asks, are we okay moving on from Devon Hamilton? And not to give it a whole segment, but just to say this very quickly, that #1 defense in the NFL for run stopping title should probably be a chain around Devon Hamilton's neck. And I think you need to recognize that. Like, I think folks in Duval are very quick to want to move away from Devon Hamilton, but they love flossing that fact that they are the #1 run defense in the NFL for a guy who averages about 50% snap rate per game. So if he's averaging around 50% of the snaps and that defense is number 1 in the NFL, then yes, he's in on obvious run downs. 1 + 1 = 2. That dude. So how much worse? I think Jaguars United was asking that question on his stream on Tuesday. It was like, how much worse are you okay with this Jacksonville Jaguars run defense getting to make that defensive tackle pass rush improve? Like, and that's where I'm kind of stuck on this, because you're going to have to, it's going to depend on the person you're getting to replace Devon Hamilton. I'm not just okay blanketly saying I'm okay moving away from Devon Hamilton and we'll figure out what we have. Nah, not the way he's playing, not in the run game.
Jarvis in the comment, LaQuint Allen equals M. Bison.
M. Bison.
I didn't expect a Street Fighter 2 reference, but this is where we are, ladies and gentlemen. I'll add this.
I love Duval in the offseason. I mean, I love Duval when they lose him, but y'all even better when y'all win, because y'all got jokes, and this is good. Y'all bred for this.
You mentioned DHam. I'll say this too. You mentioned the football reasons, and you being a ball knower, that's what you do. I'll bring in the other element of it as well. I think from a business standpoint, the price is right for what DHam does up front. Okay. He ain't that expensive a dude. That's a factor. Right. So I don't even know what more I need to add to that.
No. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say the loss was on any one person. I mean, I've seen a few comments. They're still trying to differentiate how much of the loss falls on one side versus another side. Hey man, at the end of the day, the loss fell on the Jacksonville Jaguars. You can't say it falls just on the quarterback, because that's not accurate. You can't say it falls just on
one thing. I think that's a good point.
You can't say it falls on the players specifically, because you can have complaints about the coaching on both the defensive side.
Sorry.
That's not just Liam. That's Campanelli also. All these fourth quarter comebacks got to be a conversation, and that's personnel also that's looking at Gladstone. That's not only his fault. It's one season. I get it, but it's just being real about it. It is a combined effort, just like these wins are. That loss was a combined effort. Special teams, Cam Little, you left 3 points on the field, missing the field goal. I'm sorry, bro. You can't miss that, especially after all the conversations about being an All-Pro and all the snubs and everything else. Special teams, offense, defense, everybody played a role, coaching included, both sides of the line. It's fine. You can say it's on the defense. Yes. It's on the offense. Yes. It's on all of them.
Phases and coaching made trackable and important mistakes. How do you win a football game against a guy who, if he raises the Lombardi this year, will probably be a Hall of Famer in Josh Allen?
Right. If they were perfect in one of those areas, or closer to perfect in one of those areas, offense, defense, or special teams. I'm saying they could have been bad. They could have been exactly the same on offense and defense and probably won that game if they were just better in special teams. Or fill in the blank. Take your pick of the three. That's the craziest part about this. They probably are still in that game. Yeah, it's rough. And I said we're passing this Buffalo game. We are wiping the slate with this Buffalo game. We are good.
I'm bringing Topa in the comments. Yeah, because this needs to be a grab bag question, Travis. I'm talking about it right here. Travis, what would you change about the secondary, and who would you keep and who would you bring in via free agency? Bro, it is too soon to answer that question, but you better be damn sure, Topa. We're going to be talking about it later on this offseason. That's the thing.
Yeah.
By the way, also shocked by how much support you're getting in the keep Devon Hamilton concept in the comments. The divers here are about that life from what I can see.
Oh, good. I like to see stuff like this. Like,
this is a good point too here by Preston. A 13-4 first year to evaluate. Woo! This loss sucks, but I think something special is happening. The second half is indicative of the first there, Preston, right? A 13-4 first year to evaluate. Bam! First world problem. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, it wasn't the game you want. It wasn't the game. It may not even have been the game you felt like you needed, but you probably did. Like, let's be real about it. Like, I mean, they how often has this team straight up said to us, hey, man, we didn't love the fact that we gave away a 19-point lead and come back from the Houston Texans, but it was what we needed to get these things right in this organization. We didn't love getting beat by the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams, but that's what we needed to go into the bye week, into the offseason, to make the adjustments in the playbook that were necessary. This wasn't the game that the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted or needed, and it sucks that they had to lose a damn game. But hopefully, 2026, we'll see what changes they make, and maybe that's the thing that just launches them to not sit on their hands, and on the off chance that they weren't even in the first place. So
let's run it back.
We'll see what comes of it.
Eliminated by the Titans in Week 18. Yeah, I'm throwing shade at Bulky. I said what I said.
Really, dude.
So anyway, hey, it's going to make for a great ESPN 30 for 30 when they win the Super Bowl in 2026. There you go. They were down and out in the year one, that 13-year down season.
Down and out in 13-4. Nice. I like it. Holy snap. This is great. Travis, I don't know how we're going to end this episode on a better note than this. Tell the world where you're going to be found, my guy.
Well, you can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, including our write-up for our key takeaways from the free agency class on BigCatCountry.com. From today's preseason, end of year joint presser with Gladstone and Coach Liam Coen. So check that out. If you want to talk football, obviously come here in the comments and like and subscribe on the Duval Dive on YouTube or wherever you podcast, Apple, Spotify, etc. Please rate and review us. This thing's growing because you guys continue engaging, you guys continue commenting, and we love you for it. So let's keep talking, because this off season we want to answer the question that you want answered, and not just so I can talk at you, and not so Nash can just talk at you, so we can have a conversation and talk with you, just like we're doing right now. So
that's right.
Keep engaged.
You guys got a lot more to bring than my dad jokes for the facts of the case. And the one thing that won't change with these Jacksonville Jaguars divers is us talking with you about it. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my ratings with the Black and Gold Banneret and the Night Shift podcast, talking UCF football and basketball, as well as my work covering the Orlando Magic, but primarily covering your Jacksonville Jaguars and what is a promising future. So for my personal champion, Travis Holmes, for all of you absolute badasses, you Duval divers, you Duval devout in the comments making this a thing, thank you a ton. And until next time, everyone, class dismissed.